Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the ANZCAR Thursday Night Thunder, coming to you from Road America. Sorry about the delay folks, we had some technical issues getting YouTube up and running, but it appears to be working now. So before we get into tonight's race, I'd like to introduce my co-host tonight, and that is Ryan Shelton. Are you there, Ryan?
Absolutely, we're here.
Yeah, finally. Took a bit of time and, 9 minutes of quality or practice to go, but we're on air, so that's the main thing. Here we are, Road America, round 8 of the Xfinity Series. And before we get into that, though, we've got the Monday Night Lights Truck Series to go over. So we're going to cut over to those highlights now, folks. So enjoy those. As soon as we come back, we'll go through the point score. Then we'll get down to business about what we're going to see tonight at Road America.
Hello and welcome to round 8 of the ANZCAR Monday Night Truck Series, brought to us by 131 Rock Web Radio, coming tonight from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, or Mosport as a lot of people know it. Obviously used to hold the Formula 1 Grand Prix back in the 60s, as well as just about every type of motorsport since, and tonight it's hosting our ANZCAR trucks. And looking at the top two there, you'll notice painted very similarly, the two talking trucks of Mitchell McLeod and Ashley Lear. Those who remember the ANZCAR races before ANZCAR was ANZCAR, actually, will remember the talking trucks doing quite well in that area. See a fairly substantial field of trucks joining us tonight at Canadian Motorsport Park. And there's your championship leader, Matt Danson, there actually having a bit of a battle with the number 8 of Aaron Dillon as the two talking trucks continue to lead the way. They're up front, and you can see there Sam Katakazinis. I don't believe he was with us last week, but he's jumped back into the trucks for this week and seems to be having a good run. Somebody not having that good a run, Steve Hoppett there just managing to fishtail it into the inside wall and come together with Nicholas Walsh, and that took Steve actually out of the race. Some quick change for the lead there, Ashley Lear getting past his teammate Mitchell McLeod, while Jackson Callow continues to run with a couple of the other trucks there. I believe that's Sam Katakazinis getting a little bit sideways and allowing a couple of the others through. Among them is Simon Black, who you may remember brought that incredibly badly injured truck car home after suffering for half the race with some issues. That's the 42 truck of Carol Arpton going for a bit of a trip across the grass, but she'll gather that up and continue to go. And Brett Hender and James Robbie, two of our series regulars, running there together, as well as our championship leader, as mentioned earlier on, Matt Danson, running up there behind Todd Maxfield. Field just starting to spread out a little bit now. Of course, a much longer track than Martinsville that we were at last week, and of course no cautions either to keep the field banked up together, unless of course there's an absolutely catastrophic incident on track. On these road courses, the cautions tend to stay well away. We run most races completely under green, and Matt Danson just making the move there on Maxfield as Lear looks as though he's extending the gap out there on his teammate, and they just appear to be running in 1-2 formation, easily cruising away at the front of the field. Jackson Callow continuing to run well, as well as James Robbie there, still running in close company with Brett Hender. And the two talking trucks doing as we saw them so often do during their days here in regular competition. They would just running away at the front. We know that both Mitchell McLeod and Ashley Lear run in the road course side of things quite often, and do the same sort of thing there, so no surprise to see them running out the front. On board now, the 351 of Simon Black, looking back at Sammy Bobby. You can see there above his windscreen, that of course being Sam Katakazinis, and they ran in pretty close company throughout most of the race. Yeah, Mitchell McLeod now is actually closed right up on the back of his teammate, and looking at potentially making a passing manoeuvre. Speaking of passing manoeuvres, there is one. Aaron Dillon just getting past Brett Hender. Simon Black getting a little bit loose there, and almost inviting Sam Kay to come up and have a bit of a look at getting past him. It doesn't look as though a move is on just yet, but that battle is absolutely far from over. See them still running together there through one of the tighter sections of the circuit, that double right-hander leading back uphill onto the straight. And there's one just getting a bit wobbly there. Looks like Matthew Raymond actually getting around. You may remember Matthew from the Thunder Series. He started out in the Thunder Series earlier on this season before deciding to move back down to the trucks, and you can see him definitely having a go at it there. Carolyn Upton just getting put a lap down, and I believe just going straight into the wall there, and that looks as though it's done some fairly terminal mechanical damage to that number 42 truck as well. So unfortunate occurrence for her there, but she continues on in ANZCAR competition. I'm sure she'll get to finish plenty of races. That won't be the last we see of her, hopefully. These two continuing to run closely. Simon just getting a little bit over the curve, just losing a little bit of momentum there and just struggling. Maybe his tyres running out a little bit, just getting a little bit wide, and a position swap taking place there, as this position is here now with Matt Danson running up alongside Matthew Raymond. Matt Danson, we're used to seeing him way out the front, but obviously road course is a little bit of a different skill set, and he's fighting to do the best job he absolutely can. And he's running at the front, which is more than a couple of the others have been able to do. They just bouncing off the walls there, which does happen. And you can see him there just absolutely on his own now. The field quite well spread out. Some of the pit stops took place. Nicholas Walsh has managed to recover from that incident with Steve Hoppert earlier on, but getting a little bit sideways and out onto the grass. Will he recover from this? Is he just, in fact, doesn't actually get into the tyres at all. He managed to save that one, so well done. Ash Lear there just running along on his own. He's dropped Simon McLeod and actually managed to take that victory. Simon Black coming in third place and Jackson Callow coming in second to complete those podium positions. And Ashley obviously very happy with that, popping a couple of drifts and pulling right into the pit lane, I believe, behind his teammate. Now we'll see next week we've got Texas Motor Speedway. We'll be looking at a nice long race there with these trucks, and it should be a good one, so join us then.
Fantastic. Well, we should thank Edward Foster there for giving us a race wrap-up of the last Monday night at Moport. And tell you what, Ryan, the trucks were on a road course. They drivers were finding it a little bit tricky, and I think we're going to see the same here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be super hectic at this extremely long track that we have here in Wisconsin. It's a fantastic track, always puts on really great racing. I'm personally not a fan of it, but a lot of people love it. Always brings out really good racing.
Yeah, we've got 20 drivers out here tonight that are hopefully going to love it. Looking at the practice at the moment, we're just about to go into qualifying. Jason Martin set the fastest time in practice with a 2:11.915, and I've been watching him practice around here, and even Jason's found it a bit loose down there through the carousel tonight.
Yeah, it's these cars are not easy to drive around this place. It is an absolute mess to try to keep these cars together, especially because you don't really have these cars. You don't really have the feedback you have in, say, something like a supercar. These cars are not built for some circuit like this. So the feedback isn't what you would expect V8 or F1 car or something that we normally would drive around this track. So it's a lot of guesswork and a lot of just have enough laps into the track to learn the track itself and learn the car, all of the different nuances it has.
Yeah, so I guess wonder how these would compare to the V8 supercar, if they've got a similar sort of downforce or if they're got less. What would your take be on that? Have you driven the supercar and one of these?
Yeah. The downforce is similar, but that's about where it ends. I mean, well, they both have V8 motors. Both produce around 600 horsepower, but these cars have the same radial tires that run on the short tracks. So, they're running oval tires, but they're just running. I think they're built a little different than the short track, but they're the same compound. They're running those. They're still similar to the short track cars. Still built a little sideways. A little bit of a skew in it, where the left side is a little bit smaller than the right side. But these are road course cars. They're built specifically for road course. They've got bigger balances for the brake ducts. They have different air coolings, especially that right side window. Those do not exist on short track road course version, or they do not have a right side window because they don't really need it. Better for the driver, better cooling. So these cars are a little different than the oval cars, but they're still extremely similar. And the V8 supercar is way the transmission, you have a sequential, and these you have a 4-speed 8-speed. It's going to be a different ball game.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I spoke to some of the drivers during practice, and one thing that they all had in common was the tyre wear around here. Now, one driver said about 5 laps, but you found out it's probably more like between 2 and 5 laps that these tyres will start to fall off.
Absolutely, yeah. So your first lap will always be your fastest lap around this track with this car track comp. First lap's always going to be fast. Your second lap will be decent, and then after that, your fall off starts to fall off from there. You start just a quarter second, another quarter second, another half second. You'll be down to 3-4 seconds off your regular pace from new to old. So the tire fall off here is very, very. There's a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of it. So it's going to be fun to see. It's going to really show who can take care of their tires, race really well. It's also going to play a little game of cat and mouse, really. That undercut, somebody's going to try the undercut, and it's probably going to bite them later on because it's so we can get a pass. Track was originally it was built just on some highway roads, and then they decided to close it off and make it a full racetrack just like Spa. So that's why you have a bunch of 93. That's why it's first still very street coursey, very old school of a track, because it basically is just a bunch of long roads connected by 4-way. So it's going to be interesting to see who can come out on top. We know Jason Martin's fast.
Yeah.
We know Josh Mickelmore's fast. So it's going to be interesting to see who takes it.
Yeah, it's going to be around who can adapt the best in these cars on a road course, and we'll definitely be finding that out very soon. But having a look at the point score, folks, coming into this, Jason Martin, he's still leading the way on 301 points. Josh Mickelmore in second on 274 points. Stephen Sandman Clark in third on 257, but I have not seen him out there tonight. Matt Clowett sitting in fourth on 255 points, and rounding out your top 5 is Dave Douglas on 249 points. So looking at our qualifying as they're going through now, they're actually on their first flying lap here now, and times will be coming through very shortly. They really only are going to get 2 flying laps around this circuit to set their fastest lap. So if they get into trouble, their pressure's definitely going to be on.
Yeah, it's this track is very long too, so you have a lot of chances to make mistakes. Also, qualifying can be really important. You want to be up front and avoid all the mayhem that may happen going into turn 4. That backside left.
Yeah, so we can see now Edward Foster, he's coming up to set his first time. 2:13.545 is his time, takes him to the top of the running sheet there on the screen. Darren McKenzie set the second time, 2:14. 2:65. But hold on to your hats, folks, because the fast guys, or the faster guys, I should say, Josh Micklemore, he's just coming through the carousel now, looking for Jason Martin, and Jason's just short of the carousel. So we'll see what sort of times they can post as Kai Sloggett now comes across. First in the 2:11s, 2:11.996. So Kai Sloggett is definitely on the money with that time.
Yeah, it's not very far off his practice time either. His practice was a 9:59, qualifying's a 9:95, so very close to his practice time. That's going to put him towards the top if everybody stays as they were. He was third in practice, currently first on qualifying.
Yeah, we're waiting now for Josh Micklemore to come through the final corner. He's on that now, gets it a bit sideways, exiting. He didn't use the whole track either, but let's see what sort of a time he posts. Not as quick as his practice, a very slow time, 2:14.057. And Jason Martin, he will be, I think he's just coming out to start another hot lap here.
Yeah, possibly. We know Jason Martin is the guy who runs completely late to the party. He likes to wait for everybody else and then put his lap down. So yeah, he will start his flying lap currently. So we see him slowing down for the first corner here. The long braking zones here, very easy to pass with these long braking zones.
You just see there Kai Sloggett running a little bit wide, but he kept it on the track. So Thomas Hens now, the first in the 2:10s with a 2:10.985, takes provisional pole. Kai Sloggett second, 2:11.996. Danny Stevens third in the 2:12.413. Mirko Dordenak fourth fastest at the moment, and rounding out your top five is Dave Douglas. You can see Dave's on a hot one now as he's just coming through Canada Corner, I think it's called. I'll just get my track map up. Yeah, Canada Corner. So he's coming in the final turn now, turn 14. His time so far, a 2:04, gets it gassed up and gets two wheels off the grass. That won't count as a lap time for Dave. So looks like he's going to be happy with his first time of a 2:13.376. Be interesting also, folks, to see how Norman Clark goes out tonight. He's already got damage on the front of that car. That's not going to help him whatsoever with his time trial. So it looks like he's found the wall very early here, Ryan. So having a look now back at Jason Martin. He's coming through up to turn 14, back onto Road America straight here, and we'll see what he can do. His first flying lap, his target, a 2:10.985. You can see it counting down on the screen here, folks. As he comes across the line, he's outside that time. He did a 2:11.894. That's going to slot him into second fastest, so he should get on the front row of the grid. But so far, Thomas Hens has set the first time. I think that's the first car we've seen in the 2:10s all night, and a brilliant qualifying lap by Thomas Hens. So you can see Riley Curtis out there. He's on his first flying lap as well. Just having a look at the times. He set, yes, it is his first flying lap. The other cars yet to come out. We're waiting for Matty Clowett to enter the track. Kai Sloggett, I don't have him. Well, no, he's set his time. Roger Clark, he's out on the circuit at the moment as well, setting a time. His best time so far, a 2:14.839. That posts him 12th fastest so far. Just see Riley now is coming down towards Canada Corner here, heavy on the brakes. So far a 1:47 is his time, 16th fastest. See if he can improve on that time. And this will be his first flying lap, so we'll see where Riley's going to slot in, as he runs very, very wide, and I think that lap is not going to count. We're having some technical difficulties back up here again, folks, this time with Ryan, so hopefully he'll come back and join us very, very shortly for this race. So the Gremlins are definitely biting here tonight in the RRTV Combox. So the cars are lining up. We will have one lap under pace car conditions here, but while they're lining up, let's take you through the grid so you can see where your favourite driver is going to start tonight. So starting on pole position will be Thomas Hinz, the only man in the 210s, 210.985. Jason Martin, he will start next to him in the front row. Looking at the second row, we have Kai Sloggett starting out of third. Out of fourth is Danny Stevens. Going back to the third row, we have Mirko Dortnack. In fifth, Dave Douglas, he'll start next to him out of sixth. Out of seventh tonight will be Edward Foster. He's got Josh Mickelmore starting on the outside of him in eighth. Bruce Smith, he'll start out of ninth, and Darren McKenzie will start in 10th. Looking back at 11th, we have Matthew Raymond, and he is joined on the grid by Roger Clark. Out of 13th will be Steve Williams. Then Norman Clark, that's Roger's father, will start out of 14th. Out of 15th tonight is Craig Lawless. Sam Deventia will start out of 16th. 17th, Matt Clowett. 18th, James Zeitz. Looking back further, we have Danny G starting out of 19th, and 20th is Riley Curtis. Starting out of 21st and wrapping up your field will be Dwayne Priest. So that's your field so far, folks. And one thing I've noticed here, Ryan, is about 6 drivers did not set a lap time, and I think it's because they left it too late and they just ran out of time. So it looks like we've still got difficulties with Ryan. Hopefully he will come back shortly and we will be racing. Bit of a shout out also to Steve Hoppert. He wanted to join us tonight, but he's under the weather. So if you're watching, mate, hope you're feeling better, and hopefully we'll see you back here in the Combox next week. But rolling start and we'll be racing. Looking at the weather at the moment, it is overcast out there, as you can tell, 29 degrees Celsius or 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's going to be a nice cool day for the drivers, that's for sure. Looking at our race length, we're looking at 40 laps tonight. From what I've heard, the guys should be able to make it with one stop, and we'll see how that goes and how their tyres hold on for that sort of length. As far as safety cars go, safety cars are in effect, but it's going to take a fairly big crash to bring one out, so I'm not expecting to see any safety cars tonight at all. As far as the damage these guys can sustain, well, they can not afford any damage. There's no fast repairs, so anything they do on the track is going to be very costly as this race progresses. So we can see at the moment Jason Martin, he will start next to Thomas Hinz, and Thomas has thrown down the gauntlet in qualifying. Only man in the 210s, fastest lap all night. Let's see what Jason Martin can do. So you're there, Ryan?
Yep. Yeah. All the internet's fixed.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, mate. Thomas Hinz there. He was the only one in the 210s all night. He's starting on pole position. He's got Jason Martin on the outside of him. So it's going to be mighty interesting when they come into turn one to see who's leading this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas Hinz being the only one in the 210s. I did catch that before my internet went out. I just saw that he had clocked that 10.9 and everybody else was still in the 11. So that is a extremely fast lap considering the speed of everybody else.
Yeah. And the number of drivers out there didn't get to put in a time, and I think they might have just got caught out by the how long it takes them to get these cars around for a couple of laps, one warm-up and a fast one. So about 6 guys find themselves at the end of the grid tonight because they got caught out by that. So folks, wherever you are in the world, wherever you're watching our broadcast tonight, welcome. We're about to go racing here very shortly. Hope you've got your favourite beverage and you got your feet up because it's going to get mighty interesting in the next 40 laps around Road America. And we'll see who's got their race face on and who can adapt the most to a road course in the Xfinity NASCAR. So who's your pick here, Ryan?
Even though Thomas did throw down a really fast lap, it's so hard to pick against Jason Martin. If he's up front, he's got a really good chance of winning this thing. So that's my pick. I think everybody else is racing second.
All right, well, Thomas Hinds now has control of this field. You can see them coming up Road America straight for the first time. They will go on green, waiting for it. Thomas Hinds has absolutely bolted, and Jason Martin was caught napping there. I think Thomas went before green, but maybe that's his prerogative. But coming into turn 1 here, we've got Thomas Hinds leading, and then we've got Jason Martin, Kai Sloggett settling in to third position as they go through the first corner here tonight.
Yeah, and Thomas Hinds did not want any part of Jason Martin on the first lap or at all during this race. He's got this thing hooked up. Didn't realize during practice he ran an 11.0, and then during qualifying he ran a 10.9. So he's he's ready to race and ready to win one.
Yeah, well, he should come in pretty confident into this. If there's ever a road racing specialist in this series, Thomas would be definitely one of them. He's used to running the V8 supercars at the highest level, and I'm predicting he's going to do that again tonight. Not sure about Jason Martin's experience on road tracks, but at the moment he's sitting in nicely in second. Kai Sloggett third, Daniel Stevens fourth. Rounding out your top 5 is Mirko Dortinack in the 62. Now these 5 are bolting. They've got quite a bit of a gap back to Edward Foster, and he's coming under a lot of pressure here from Bruce Smith.
Yeah, Dave Douglas was in that 6th spot, the one that was in between Mirko and Edward, but he went straight off in turn 4, and there was no saving it. He's dropped all the way back behind the 83 up Matthew Wayne.
Yeah, that's normally where they come unstuck at Road America. Most people hold their breath for turn 1, but generally once they get onto the Moran sweeper through there, as we see Jason Martin running very wide through Canada Corner, this is going to cost him 3 positions as Danny Stevens goes through. Where's he going to slot back in? Just in front of Mirko Dortinack, but now Mirko's having a look on the inside, and all of a sudden Jason has his back against the wall.
Yeah, don't normally see Jason make mistakes ever. I think a track this difficult even shows just how hard it is to bring one of these things around. To see Matthew Cloet in that 54, he's going for a pass on Dave Douglas here in turn 1. See if he can make it stick. This is a very long braking zone. He brakes just a little bit later, and he makes it work. Will he keep it stick? Oh! Dave Douglas just about ran into him. That was about to be big, but they did continue on. Matthew Cloet will move up himself up to the 11th position.
Yeah, and meanwhile out front, Thomas Hinds is absolutely bolted. 2.2 seconds is the gap back to Kai Sloggett after one lap around here, and you can definitely see that V8 supercar experience being used to its full effect here tonight as Thomas Hinds dominates. Now the question will be, can Jason Martin come back up through the field? At the moment he seems to be happy just sitting behind Daniel Stevens. Probably not happy is probably the wrong word. Probably it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't be very happy being stuck back there, as there's an absolute massive battle pack here for 6 with Edward Foster at 53. And him and Bruce Smith and Darren McKenzie and Josh Mickelmore, they're all in that little battle pack, and they're all trying to pass each other going into what is turn 7, that left-hander. And now they come through the fast kink back here in the backstretch. About 130 miles an hour in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, we're riding here with Matthew Raymond. He's just showing the nose on Josh Mickelmore, and he decides to tuck back in. You can just see how much he's just working that wheel nice and smooth, and just correcting the oversteer as the car kicks out under acceleration.
Yeah, the thing with these cars, you really don't want that rear end kicking around, because the more you do that, the more you're wearing down these tires, and they're very quick to wear. We see Thomas Heans has crossed the line. His first flying lap was a 2:12.2, so that's already a full second, almost more, off his qualifying time. So you can already see that the tires are starting to wear down just a little bit. He's out by himself too. So we see Daniel Stevens right behind Kai Sloggett, battling for second position. Both teammates. Daniel Stevens came off turn 2 and he was dancing all over the place.
Yeah,
Kai Sloggett looks to just let him by.
Yeah, well, these guys are both from the MFR team, so I'd say Daniel Stevens may have more pace, and they might have decided to release him to see if he can hunt down Thomas Hens now. That gap out to 3.9 seconds, and I reckon what is on the top of their mind will be that they're not going to expect a safety car around here, and they don't want Thomas getting too big a gap here.
Yeah, you really don't want any kind of, don't want to let him get too far ahead. As Daniel Stevens is still trying to ring that car, he's going to wear those rear tires out in a hurry, and he's going to go backward. That is the exact wrong thing you want from that car, as we see Jason Martin trying to capitalize on them switching drivers, try to maybe move himself up into that third position.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Is the tyre wear is going to play a big part in this. As Jason Martin gets it all loose coming down there, that was through the kink. He's lucky he didn't find the wall. He's lost another position now to Mirko Dortnack, and he's down to 5th position now.
Yeah, that was about 185 kilometers, that little wriggle was. So going through that kink, you definitely don't want to put tires out in the inside grass, much less the outside grass. And he did, and just got that car just a little loose, and he's done it again. He's not used to these left-hand drive cars. That's another thing we have to worry about. These left-hand drive cars on these road courses, you're going to see that a lot where they're going to put those right-side tires in the grass, not realizing just how little room they don't have. And that's twice for Jason Martin. Just put it to the grass just a little bit, and it's made this car super loose on exit.
Yeah, and he's got the number 8 of Darren McKenzie now on his rear bumper and starting to work on him. But meanwhile, out front, it's all Thomas Hens now. That gap, 4.6 seconds. He's pulling about 0.7 of a second per lap. And you can just see how big that gap is as we now see Danny Stevens come through. Kai Sloggett 3rd, Mirko Dortnack 4th. Edward Foster finds himself in 5th position, bringing Bruce Smith with him. Jason Martin, as we were saying, under a lot of pressure from Darren McKenzie. Looking further back, we have Matt Clough 2 wheels off the grass. He's battling it out with Matthew Raymond, who's just made that move, and Dave Douglas, he moves up to 11th.
Yeah, these guys in the back definitely put on some really good racing. They're putting on some of the best races in the track. There is good racing all over the places. Mirko has moved up into that 3rd position over Kai Sloggett. Then Bruce Smith is just trying to hold on to his pants here for that 5th. Ringing that unsponsored Ford Mustang around the track by himself.
Yeah, he's doing an awesome job though. That orange, casting my mind back a mighty long way, but I'm sure Dukes of Hazzard had a similar orange to that.
Yeah, well,
You're probably wondering what Dukes of Hazzard is, aren't you?
No, I know exactly what Dukes of Hazzard is. My paint job isn't loading.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just...
I see a black car.
Okay, it's just a racing orange colour as Thomas Hintz comes through once more. 3 laps completed here, folks, and he does a 2:12.756. Danny Stevens comes through, so that gap now 6.3 seconds. So he's absolutely annihilating the field at the moment.
Yeah, we see way back in the back, Matthew Raymond had that number 83 car. He's dropped a few positions. Oh, he came off the last corner and he just overdrove the last corner, and he just missed the inside fence, and he went from 11th all the way down to 14th. I thought he actually lost more than that. Must have passed cars that lap. He is now behind Danny G. That the 24 car.
I'm just going to have a look at this replay of Matthew Raymond on that final corner and how he's outbraked himself. We're seeing a little bit of that tonight as you see him going into the turn 14. Yeah, you're right, it just didn't turn in, did it? And he was so lucky to keep that off, wasn't he?
Yeah, he just missed it. It was very, very close to ending his race.
And that's the thing the guys are going to have to get used to, I think, is the how early they're probably going to have to brake in these cars, as well as getting used to the left-hand drive, as well as getting them to turn in on a road. Well, you could call it a road course, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, that's right. But yeah, these guys have already started to show some tire wear. It's Thomas Hintz. He's on his 5th lap. He's running at 12.7. His fastest currently 12.2 second laps. He's either A, conserving tires, or B, he's at a 13.30 or 2:13.0. So currently looking at about a second so far in drop-off pace.
Yeah, and that gap's still going forwards. 7 seconds is the gap, but I reckon if there's anyone out there that should know how to conserve tyres in a car similar to this, you'd think it'd be Thomas Hintz with his V8 supercar background.
Yeah, most of the guys who do V8 supercars and then they hop into one of these, they're normally a little bit better than the guys who are just straight to build them. These cars are a handful to drive on road courses. As Dave Douglas just turned to separate himself from Josh Mickelmore, trying to make his way back to the field after having a forward first lap. Just behind Dave Douglas, there's a battle pack with Roger Clark in that 09 Chevrolet, followed behind Steve Williams, Matthew Raymond, and Danny G's going for a pass on Matthew. Matthew Floyd, huge wreck. Oh, he went flying in there, and that is going to ruin the front of that car. Luckily, aerodynamics don't really play a huge part. He should be okay for the rest of the race, but Danny G does have some issues with that right side also.
Yeah, we're just having a look. Just having a look at this replay, and I tell you what, he got into the side of the 24 there, didn't he? That was Danny G, and yeah, very lucky that didn't become a big wreck there.
Absolutely. If we go back, we have Stephen Williams, who has passed Roger Clark. He actually went on the outside of turn 7, which gave him the inside for the carousel, and now he's taking away that 11 away from Roger Clark. Roger Clark just trying to hang on away from number 80 at Matthew Raymond.
Yeah, Matthew Raymond, Steve Williams there runs wide, gives that position back to Matthew Raymond, Roger Clark, sorry. 98 is Steve Williams, then we've got Danny G just behind him trying to close in. So Yeah, there's a bit of action going on up the back here as guys just are trying to get used to how early they need to brake these cars and, put the brakes on, not break them, and how to finesse them through the corners here.
Absolutely. And another big thing we're starting to see is Jason Martin. Finally, looks like he's starting to get his groove back just a little bit. His last lap was a 15.1. Pretty consistent. The lap before was a 15.1. The lap after 15.1. Chasing down Bruce Smith on a 16.4. He's trying to claw his way back up into that top 5 at least for a safety car so he can get a chance at that W. But Thomas is still flying away from the pack. He's got an 8-second lead. As we see, Bruce Smith is all over the back of Edward Foster, giving him the Corvette corner going down into turn 7 now.
Yeah, see what he can do as they come through turn 7. The carousel's next, and I guess he's just got to get through this, doesn't he? Set up. I guess the next point he can try and make a move is get that momentum through the kink and have a crack at Canada corner.
Yeah, that's the best. That's one of the best passing spots here. The other great passing spot is turn 4. Turn 4 is normally where you'll see most of the passes. Canada corner is probably second because you have so much speed. It's such a long braking zone, and also there's a little bit of a kink when you go into the braking zone. As you can see here, Edward Foster looked to cover, but eventually went right back to the edge of the track to give Bruce Smith a second thought about trying to make that pass.
Yeah, looking at the guys in the 213s at the moment, folks, they are Thomas Hins, 213-2. The other car that's in the 213s last time by was Kai Sloggett. He's sitting down there in 4th position. So Kai Sloggett's definitely found his rhythm and putting in some good laps.
I think he's actually losing out because Daniel Stevens is kind of in his way. He let him go by earlier. Daniel Stevens, he does have a 13.7 lap time on his sheet, but his last two have been 15.6 and 15.5, and that's allowed Mirko just to absolutely bolt away. He's out on a field by himself, but he's still 9th behind Thomas.
Yeah, one question I've got for you, Ryan, is how well do these cars draft down the straights? They're not going to draft nearly as well as they would on a oval, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a little bit of draft, not a whole lot, and that's why you're not seeing a whole lot of dive bombs. But there is a little bit of a draft there, not a whole lot. So it might come into play if somebody gets a really good run off the corner, but other than that, not see a whole lot of drafting here. Josh Micklemore is being chased down by Matthew Raymond. Matthew dropped the wheel off at Corvette corner. Very easy turn to lose it at. See if Matthew Raymond can't make it around Josh Micklemore, one of the top guys in the series right now.
Yeah, and Daniel Stevens ran wide into turn 7 there. That's released Kai Sloggett, who finds himself now in 3rd, but he's got to pull in around about 1.8 seconds back to Mirko Dortnack, and then a full 8.9 seconds back to Thomas Inns.
Yeah, so we're 8 laps into this really long 40-lap race, and we've had a bunch of action so far. We've got Thomas Hines leading the way hugely. We've got Mirko right behind him. Daniel Stevens in 3rd, Kai Sloggett in 4th. They passed each other, so that is actually quick. And then Edward Foster being the 5th position.
I'll tell you what, Matthew Raymond continues to struggle, as does Roger Clark. And it was first Matthew's turn. He gassed it up coming out of Canada corner. The car kicked out. He dropped that position to Roger Clark, but then Roger's gone in way too fast through turn 14 and found the outfield.
Yeah, it looked like speedway stuff back there at Canada corner because Josh Micklemore did the exact same thing that Matthew Raymond did. kicked them both sideways, and it looked like they were either having a drifting tournament or that was the speedway they were driving.
Yeah, I'll see if we can grab that back there and have a look at this, folks. And that's the thing, that they're getting used to these cars, aren't they? And how, go back a bit further, how they need to, as I call them, finesse them like a V8 supercar. And I keep on going on about V8 supercars, folks, but that's probably the only comparison I can draw on these types of cars.
Yeah, they're because they're so hard to drive. There's a massive skill gap, and if you make a mistake, it's not a little mistake. It's a massive mistake. So as we just keep looking around, Josh Mickelmore made a huge mistake going into turn 7. That's going to allow Matthew Raymond to get right up on him at the carousel. Matthew Raymond's going to try to pick up on that mistake that Josh made. See, he can't make a pass going into Canada corner here.
Yeah, we'll see if Matthew can adapt to this. He's got to make sure that he doesn't stomp on that gas too hard, because if he does, he's going to find that car drifting yet again. But we'll see how he goes as he comes through Canada corner. He's lost probably about a car length, as now Josh Mickelmore does exactly what Matthew Raymond did the lap before.
And then Matthew Raymond, you can see these cars are really hard to drive. They are on the ragged edge driving these things. They tell these guys are not in any kind of tire saving mode currently. They are all over the place.
Yeah, and we're sitting in the gyro cam here with Matthew Raymond, folks. We'll sit with him through the first couple of corners here so you can get an idea of how much these guys are working these cars, as well as the difference that they feel inside the car compared to what you see on the outside.
And just real quick, Kai Sloggett and Daniel Stevens are both in the pits, but Kai Sloggett is having a hard time getting into a stop. Looks like he might just be a training session for both of them, is what it looks like, because Kai Sloggett did not pit. Actually, he's just now pitting.
Yeah, he had to reverse it back to get that car back into his pit stall there. It also looks like we've got the number 8 and the number 93 also coming out. That is Riley Curtis. No, it's not Riley Curtis, sorry. That's Darren McKenzie's pitted, 15.5 seconds. The 66 of Danny Stevens has also pitted. We saw Kai Sloggett, Danny G. He's carrying a lot of front-end damage on that car, but he's just going to try and get that car home, I think.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think Kai Sloggett may have lost a lot of time that he really didn't want to lose by pitting how he did. Daniel Stevens and Kai Sloggett both came into the pits at the exact same time. Daniel Stevens has about a 10-second lead over Kai Sloggett.
And the other car to pit was Norman Clark in the number 8. And he's currently in 17th. Looking at our retirements, folks, Sam DeVentia, he did not make the start of this race by the looks of it. Matthew Clowett in the 54, that car's gone behind the wall. We won't be seeing it again tonight. And Dwayne Priest in the 777 has also called it a night. So the gap out front, if we bring it up now for you folks, in the standings is Thomas Hinds is leading. 12.1 seconds is the gap. Second is Mirko Dortnack. He's 0.3 in front of Bruce Smith. Then we have Edward Foster, 9.4 seconds behind Bruce, and he's 7.5 seconds in front of Dave Douglas. So we'll have to work out what's happened to the car that was monstering him there. Then 6th is Jason Martin, 7th Josh Mickelmore, Matt Raymond in 8th, 9th Steve Williams, and rounding out your top 10 is Roger Clark.
Yeah, it looks like the only battle currently on track is going to be Bruce Smith and Edward Foster. Those two are about close to go on track currently. They're about half a second away from each other.
Yeah, well, Bruce, he's been chasing down Edward now since the start of this race. 10 laps in, he's got past him, and now he's starting to pull away. But I tell you what, Edward made Bruce work for that third position.
Oh yeah, and then as much as he made it work for it, he bundled it up in turn one. Let Bruce by overshooting it into turn one. He's going to be very far down on his tire wear. You're going to see these guys are already lapping at 2:16. Even Thomas Haynes, where he's at, he crosses the line at 2:14.5, so he's already 2 seconds down. We've been racing for 12 laps, and he's already 2 seconds down from best. So 2:12.9, so almost 3 seconds slower.
Yeah, but he's 13.5 seconds in front, I guess. So he can he's probably in the best position to look after his tyres here, I'd say.
Absolutely, and right now we're just kind of in a lull. We've had a couple people pit. We've had not sure exactly who's all pitted, but once everybody gets back to their spots, you'll see some really close racing. Currently, way back in the back, it looks like we've got something going on here. Darren McKenzie just passed Riley Curtis as Riley Curtis goes to pits. He was trying to go into the pits anyways. So Riley Curtis is into the pits. Craig Wallace has pitted also. The only car a lap down that's still running. Jason Martin and Roger Clark starts to look a bit like a battle here. Jason Martin made a very small mistake. He's back in the 9th position after qualifying in 2nd place. This is not something that we're used to seeing Jason Martin do, is these mistakes. And he is just falling like a rock here currently. He is 53 seconds behind Thomas Haynes in 9th place.
Yeah, in that last lap, Jason must have had some sort of off-track as he goes wide again. He's definitely struggling out there.
This is not his favorite track, it sounds like it. The man of few words is going to have even fewer tonight.
Yeah, I'd say so. He's definitely having trouble just getting that car to turn in. And he's now down in 10th position. Darren McKenzie, he's the first of our pit stoppers. He's just behind him now. His stop was a 15.5 second stop. It's the fastest time. The second fastest was Danny G with the 15.6 second stop. So that gives you an idea, folks, of where they're sitting. But the first of the pit stoppers, 60 seconds behind now, and in 11th position is Darren McKenzie. So we see Thomas Hins going around once more, and we might jump on with him and next lap by and do a lap with Thomas, and I'll get the telemetry up, folks, so you can just see how the leader is driving this car around Road America.
Yeah, be some useful information for all the competitors, because right now they are getting spanked. Politically correct, sir.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say, what I've seen so far is that the guys are struggling with braking these cars. They're probably braking too late and possibly also carrying too much speed into the corner as such, and then they're running wide, or they're jumping on that gas pedal and spinning those tyres up.
Yeah, the biggest thing you're going to have is like we were talking about in the pre-race, you don't really have that feedback that you have in a V8 supercar, so you don't really know where the grip is. It's just a lot of learning the car and learning the track. So you do have to have a lot of laps into this, really get an understanding on how this car reacts to different. different spots on track, as Riley Curtis has blown his motor right in front of the leader. He will come down pit road and probably end his race for tonight.
Yeah, sorry, I thought someone must have had a barbecue, and that explains that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what it looks like. It's not unusual to see black smoke from a barbecue running around this track, but it is unusual to see it coming from a car. So Riley Curtis will have his end of his night. Currently, he is in 17th, but he will probably get passed up by Craig Lawless, who is still running. He is a lap down, but he is still running, trying to make the most of his point.
And as promised, folks, we're jumping on board here with Thomas Hinds coming through now. Turn 1, 2 and 3. Coming down, yes, this is a turn 4, that slight kink, and then just listen to him how early he starts to break this to pull it up at the end of the Moran sweeper. 400 metres out, he's already lifting.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll hear the throttle. It sounds full throttle, like here. But he's not full throttle until he shifts, really. Especially here.
Yeah,
he'll just stay off the throttle just a little bit, just enough to keep the rear tires underneath him. Especially when you have a 15-second lead, you're not really pushing the car to its full limit. You don't really want to be there.
Yeah, the other thing I've noticed is as he exits these corners, he's short shifting to keep the wheel spin down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely want to keep the wheel spin down, and short shifting is going to be your biggest friend here. You see him just coming through this back stretch. It's not very straight. As he brakes for the Canada corner way back before the start. So you just see just how long it takes the car just to slow down. Coming down through the last couple of corners here. Most cars is flat out or close to flat out. These cars you're lifting and sometimes even braking for that corner. And then the final corner, most even tricky corner on this track, just throws it out to the outside, and he will come down into the pits.
One thing, sorry to jump in, Ryan, I'm doing that too much tonight. One thing I did notice is the second gear in these cars is getting quite a workout on this circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with that 4-speed transmission, you have to have that fourth gear for these really, really long straightaways. So in the tight stuff, it's normally just second gear, maybe pop third here and there, as Bruce Smith will follow him into second place.
And the other thing I picked up, when he came into Canada corner there, he was braking 500 metres out. So that's a heck of a long way. You can see why some of these drivers are running wide into these corners.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like everybody's just followed the leader, as Dave Douglas has followed him in too, who is currently in 5th place. A great recovery from his original first lap incident, being back in about 12th position. You see Josh Mickelmore and Matthew Raymond are still going at it, and Thomas just pops out in front of him, brand new tires. He'll be a little dot on their screen here shortly.
Yeah, we've still got 26 laps remaining of this race, folks. Tell you what, when I looked at the sheet, I thought 40 laps around here it'll be done pretty quick, but it's turning out that's not the case. It's taken a bit longer. It's Thomas Hinds' stop, 16.9 seconds, and he comes back out a bit slower than the best stop of 15.5 seconds. You can also see now Dave Douglas, he's just leaving the pits, 18.3 seconds. He'll slot back in up there at around about 15th or 16th position.
Yeah, Matthew Raymond is right on the tail of Josh Mickelmore now. For that, currently, it will be the 4th position, but out on track, I believe will be the 6th of those who have not pitted. So he is trying his best. Oh, and he throws it. Oh! Just taps the rear end and it taps the front end. That's going to be terrible for that car. He is definitely going to come in and pit, try to get some of that damage fixed. That was a huge, huge mistake by him, as Darren McKenzie is going to try and take care of him now. He's just throwing it off the track now. Oof.
Yeah, just having a look at the super slow-mo there, and then we might actually jump in with him. He's actually got one wheel just slightly in the grass there, which has just unsettled the car, and once he got out where he is, straight into the Speedville sign, or bridge, I guess you'd call it.
It is what it is. I don't know. Matthew Raymond is trying to make his way back, try to pass Darren McKenzie coming off the Canada corner. Not really the best place to make a pass, but he'll try to do it. All these mistakes are bringing everybody together, because now the battle pack has come back together. As predicted, Matthew Raymond is going into the pits.
Yeah, I guess the pit crew will have a look over that car, won't they? But there's no fast repairs here, so if it's undrivable, they're going to spend a long time in there tonight.
Yeah, I imagine it's not going to be too much damage if I was him. But if I don't have a fall flag currently, I would be just doing 4 tires of fuel and get back out on track. As we see Jason Martin and Daniel Stevens still battling it out, still been this whole race. Currently, they are scored in the 7th now on the track. But again, these are for people who have not pitted, and Daniel Stevens just runs right around Jason Martin. It looks like Jason may have just let him by there.
Yeah, well, I guess if you sometimes it's the best thing to do, isn't it? If there's a guy a lot quicker than you coming through, just let them by. The other guy that is still out there that has not pitted yet is Mirko Dortnak in the number 62. He's leading at the moment. We'll see if he comes in this lap, and we'll then have Thomas Hinz regaining that lead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll see him regain that lead here, as Roger Clark, Daniel Stevens both followed each other off at turn 7 into the dirt. It was a sight to see. It looked almost planned for the team to both go out in the dirt. Give Jason Martin a little bit of a dust up on his car. Another interesting thing to watch out for is the amount of tape these guys are using on the front of the car. So you can see, especially on Roger Clark's car, that 09 machine, he's got that yellow box. That's all the tape. So all that yellow is blocked off. That's going to give you more front downforce. You look at the difference between Roger Clark's car, and then you go look at Thomas Hinz's car, that 52 Toyota Camry. He's got almost no opening, allowing for the most amount of front downforce cars have.
Yeah, I guess that on a cool day such as this, they can afford to run it. But what would happen if they got caught into a draft for a while? Is that engine going to start to overheat?
Absolutely, yeah. That engine will overheat in a hurry, because I bet Thomas Hinz got it so dialed in to be ran out in clean air that if he were to get into a battle, he wouldn't be able to run behind it very long. He's probably got to dial it up that it'll overheat in a hurry.
Yeah, and then we have
that is all.
Sorry.
I want to go back to the tape thing. Also, that's something that you can adjust on pit road too. So if you're noticing that the engine's running cool enough, you can throw more tape on it until it starts to warm up.
Yeah, I was just having a look at Mirko's car. He's not running any tape at all on that car from what I can see. He's carrying a bit of tape, but not too much as he's now coming through. He's going to continue staying out here nearly 50% of the way, and he's run the furthest so far.
Yeah, he's going for the 1 stop. It looks like everybody else is going for either a 2 or a 3 stop to try to keep up with their tires.
Yeah, that might pay off for him though, because at the moment he's leading the race. He's 19 seconds ahead of Thomas. He lost 3 seconds that lap.
Yeah, so if he can make this work, this actually might benefit him. If he can make this one stop work, he can have just enough pace to make the one stop work. It might help him out, because if Thomas Heens has to make another pit stop and is not able to catch Mirko at the end of the race, could be seeing Mirko win this just on strategy, not on raw pace.
And that would be a sight, wouldn't it? It would be brilliant. And looking at his previous lap time, 2:15.645. Fastest time he said is a 2:13.265. So if we look at that, he's losing around about 2.8 seconds a lap at the moment to Thomas on fresh tyres. But based on that, it would take Thomas around about 7 laps to actually pull him in.
Also, another thing could be, it could just be a one-stop race. I'm not entirely sure the fuel mileage of these cars. I'd imagine it would be a one-stop race. You can make it on one stop. But it could be that Thomas just wanted to pit earlier to get tires on it earlier throughout the race, but it's going to cost him a lot throughout the end. But I don't think he's got much to worry about. His last lap, it was a 11.8, and then the lap after is 11.9. So he's actually pushing the car extremely much, because those are his fastest laps of the race so far. That's even faster than the second lap when trying to run away, probably saving the tires. So he might be on a 3-stop strategy, or a 2-stop.
Yeah, definitely. As Mirko goes through once more, we'll see when he comes in. But I tell you what, he's feeling quite comfortable in that car. By the way, he's just past, I think it was Craig Lawless, putting him another lap down.
Yeah, Kai Sloggett and Bruce Smith have closed the gap on each other. Bruce Smith is really trying to wring that car out. He's been trying to wring that car out all night long. He's still, he had literally just pitted 2 laps ago. He's got brand new tires, so he's trying to chase down Kai Sloggett, who pitted on lap 10. We're going to see if Bruce Smith can use those better tires and maybe go ahead and get around Kai Sloggett.
He's got to do this without burning those tyres up as well. And that's another trap, isn't it? You get new tyres, you go and you do a couple of fast laps, but if you burn those tyres up too early, you're going to be struggling for the rest of the stint.
Yeah, if you hit it early, like some of these guys, having that long second stint is not what you want at all. That long second stint is it is treacherous when you're trying to race for the finish and your tires are just completely shot. That Bruce Smith is over here. It looks like he's trying to shoot his tires up, so he doesn't have anything to drive on later on.
See now, Josh Mickelmore just completing his stop. 17.65 seconds was his stop, and probably about 2.2 seconds slower than the fastest stopper, and that's Darren McKenzie and Edward Foster both did that fast time. Yeah,
Darren McKenzie, he pitted on lap 6. He put on lap 6. Daniel Stevens, who was right behind him, pitted on lap 9. Daniel Stevens' last lap was a 14.8. Darren McKenzie's last lap was a 16.3. So just a 3-lap difference between when they pitted. There's a 2 seconds difference in their time on track. So you can really tell the difference between a new tire and an old tire.
Yeah, Mirko Dortnack brought that car in. 22 laps remaining, 21. He almost got to the 50% mark. And we'll see if he's going to now try and push on to make this a one-stop strategy.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And looking also at some of the times also, Darren McKenzie spent almost no time on pit. He had a 2:26 and a 2:24, so a total time of just over 3 minutes and 10 seconds for his in-out time. where Daniel Stevens had almost 3 minutes and 30 seconds with a 2:30, or almost 4 minutes and 30 seconds with a 2:30 and a 2:54. So that's where a lot of that time was built up from Darren McKenzie.
So you see
Darren McKenzie.
Sorry, go.
Darren McKenzie just put down a fast lap in that 15.8, where Daniel Stevens he's dropping his time. He was at a 16.9, and he's dropped it slowly down to a 14.9. These guys are slowly starting to race each other. With Mirko, who was the leader. He is now going to score in the 4th position with brand new tires on that car. He will work to pass these guys very, very quickly.
Yeah, he was just a bit too slow in that pit stop, 17.7 seconds. If you had, there we go, one's in the wall. That's Danny Stevens, gasses it up and kisses the inside wall.
Yeah, and he's going to let Edward Stevens go by, and he's going to have Bruce Smith and Kai Sloggett right there in front of him, or right behind him. Going to be there looking for the kill. Now that front end damage, I'm not sure how much that is actually going to affect the car on the straightaways. I don't think it's going to affect it too much on some of these straightaways, but I know especially on the front stretch, the turn 3 stretch, and going down to Canada corner, he might have some issues. But other than that, I think he should be fine with that damage.
Yeah, we're just riding with him in the cockpit there to show how hard these cars are to drive. He was nursing that throttle, but still it was enough to have that back end come around on him and straight into that wall. Should also give a shout out to track cams for gourmets. We're using these track cams tonight, folks, and if you like what you see, you can actually go and buy these camera packs at trackcams22.com.
So I'm going to take a look at Daniel Stevens, take a look at his top speed going down this front stretch, see if he's got any speed issues going down through here. Oh, here it's Edward Foster, who is right in front of him. Edward Foster tops out at 280 kilometers before hitting the brakes for that first corner. Daniel Stevens tops out at 280 kilometers before hitting that first corner. So that front end damage is not going to be really affecting the car that much. So look for him to just continue driving his normal pace.
Yeah, so looking at your top 10 at the moment, folks, Thomas Hinds leads this race by 41 seconds. Mirko Dortnack back into third. He's already got a 1 second gap over Darren McKenzie in third. Fourth is Edward Foster. Fifth, Daniel Stevens. Sixth is Bruce Smith. Seventh, Kai Sloggett. Danny G sits in eighth. Steve Williams ninth. And Dave Douglas rounds out your top 10.
One thing we did miss when looking at the Danny Stevens incident, Mirko actually gave Darren McKenzie a little bit of a nudge in turn 7. That was on lap 20. And that was going into turn number 7. He just gave him a nudge, but he would eventually let Darren McKenzie have that spot back.
Okay, yeah, we totally missed that. That must have been up just before the carousel. No, it wasn't. Before Hurry Downs. Yep.
Yeah. So just a little bit of a front end damage for Mirko. I noticed it and I had to go back and look and see what happened, and that's exactly what happened. So Mirko's sporting a little bit of front end damage on that Mustang, nothing that I'm not used to, especially with all the crowds it decides to hit.
See if we can go back and find this, folks.
Also, just a quick update, Jason Martin has just made his second pit stop along with Roger Clark, who is right in front of him. Roger Clark he only made one pit stop so far, and that was on lap 16. Jason Martin has made his second pit stop. But actually, that's his first also. So he has made his first pit stop at lap 90.
Just having a look at
We're
this.
now-
Just having a look at this replay here. That wasn't a little tap. That was a fairly big one. He's actually redressed it, and I'm just trying to work out where he's actually got past Darren McKenzie here. Down Canada corner, McKenzie ran wide.
Yeah, when you get somebody a nudge like that, it makes them second guess about where they need to actually hit the brakes. So, maybe a little bit of a head game for Darren McKenzie. Currently, it looks like Stephen Williams, going back to live. Stephen Williams is right on the back bumper of Danny G here for that 8th position.
Yeah, and Edward Foster's on the back of Darren McKenzie now as well. They're battling it out for 3rd and 4th position.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, these drivers are definitely going at it. Edward Foster, he pitted on lap 13. His last lap was a 2:15.4, where Darren McKenzie, he pitted on lap 6. So we'll probably see Darren McKenzie back into the pit stop later on.
And
So he might be a little out of position.
Yeah, and these guys, they matched the same pit time in the pit stall anyway, 15.5 seconds, as Edward Foster there just brakes a little too late and drops off the back.
Yeah, they had the same pit stall time, but out on track, it was a different story. There's a 28.9 and a 47.5 for Edward Foster for his in-out time, and Darren McKenzie, he had a 26 and a 44 as he comes in for his second pit stop here on lap 22. He might be going for a little bit of a 3-stop.
We've got Williams into the wall at Canada corner. He gassed it up again and did exactly what Daniel Stevens did, straight into the inside.
Yeah, chasing down Danny G, he just wanted to get that throttle down with it. Oh, that was a big hit too.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's going to have some issues later on. Dave Douglas is in the pits for his second stop, which is a really bit of an odd one because he pitted on lap 4. So, I guess this might be the magic number because you see Stephen Williams, he's coming down also, but I think that's for other reasons. Darren McKenzie just comes out right behind Josh Micklebore, who pitted on lap 19. So we're definitely in the middle of a bunch of pit stops right now. Everybody's a little out of position. It's going to take until about lap 35 for everybody to find a position, and we'll be racing until the end there. Currently, we are working lap 23 of 40. Been racing for about an hour or so. We have Thomas Heens way out front, currently about 40 seconds on Mirko. Behind him, you have Edward Foster in 3rd, Daniel Stevens in 4th, and Kai Sloggett in 5th.
And to tell you what, Mirko's last lap time of 2:12.839, so he's definitely got his head around this car tonight, and he's actually quicker than Thomas Hinz that time through. Now, it's going to be interesting tonight if Mirko can one-stop this. I think we're going to have a bit of tortoise in the hare type racing, because I'd say Thomas will two-stop it. If Mirko one-stops it, we could be in for a very interesting finish here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. With Mirko hitting on lap 19 and coming out on lap 20, that effectively made his back end 20 laps. So if he had to pit for fuel, he'll have to save about a lap of fuel, which there's a lot of straightaway you don't want to give up, but there's also a lot of straightaway to save the fuel with. So if he needs to save a lap, this will be the track you want to kind of save it at.
Yeah, and at the moment he's matching the times. He did a 2:13.627 that time through. Thomas did a 2:13.562. So, these guys are now pretty much lapping identical laps.
Yeah, and they're going to be identical laps right now. Thomas Heens has about 5 more laps of tires. Heens also started out with a 11 13.8 is currently at a 13.5, whereas Mirko, he started out with a 12.8, so a whole second slower than what that number 652 of Thomas Keynes started with.
What sort of, have you got the stats on how long it takes them to, once they enter pit road, to when they exit?
Don't have the actual number of how long they transit the road, but it is the total penalty looks to be about 10 and 40, so probably about 50 seconds or so, 50 seconds to a minute, depending on how you enter. Because the actual pit road itself, the entry into pit road, is very hard to get right. It's uphill and it's blind, so you don't really know exactly where the cone is, so you just kind of hope and pray that you're hitting your braking point. You almost have to learn the pit road just as much as you have to learn the actual track itself.
So I'm just doing the numbers here. If when Thomas comes in for that last stop, if Mirko stays out, he should have around about a 20-second lead if Thomas pitted now.
Yeah. So Thomas would have to make up those 20 seconds by running 2 seconds a lap faster than laps. So, and that's something that he can do, which may make the finish of this race extremely interesting to watch.
Yeah, well, I've worked out if he pits and he can pull in, which we've seen him do, the 2.2 seconds per lap, he needs about 8 laps on the end of the race to actually catch Mirko. And Mirko's challenge is going to be when Thomas is coming at him, he's got to keep his cool and just focus on his times.
Yeah, that's going to be the issue for him. That's going to be an extreme issue.
So we see Danny G now coming in for his second stop in the number 24. We can see the 444 Craig Lawless also in there. It looks like that car is done for the night as well.
Yeah.
If we lost
the 24.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Have we lost Bruce Smith? It looks like he's just retired.
Here. Yep, it looks like. See here. Let's see what happened. He pulled into the pits. He got his he just pulled into the pits and he called it quits. So not sure exactly what was going on, but we'll find out later on.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. He had an off-track back here coming into Canada Corner. We'll just see if this tells us the full story of what's happened to him. Because he had a couple of off-tracks and then he went straight into the pits. So, yeah, he ran wide. That was coming out of, where was it? Up at Bill Mitchell Bend. And then he's just pulled her in and got out of the car.
Yeah, it's a different one there. We'll see. We'll catch up with him later on to see what happened with him. But as we see, Daniel Stevens makes his next pit stop, his second pit stop here on lap number 25, working 6. Edward Foster was right ahead of him. We'll see if this undercut might work for him.
Yeah, well,
as Heiss Lockett comes in, the MFR boys are all on the same exact schedule. So if Danny G had pitted just then, and we'll probably see Norman Clark here come through here in just a
So looking at your retirees now, folks, it looks like Bruce Smith's just retired. We don't know why. Craig Lawless, that car's still in the pits, but not going anywhere anytime soon. We've also lost the 93 of Riley Curtis. He blew his motor earlier tonight. Matt Clowett, we're not sure what happened to him, but he retired. some time ago. Dwayne Priest was the first retirement, and Sam Deventia in the number 97 did not make the start, as now we can see Norman Clark going very slowly up Road America Straight.
Not sure what happened there. Oh, he's probably having to clear the slowdown that he had at the kink, because he cut the kink. I didn't know if it was going to be a slowdown or not, but it's probably what he was doing. Probably clearing the slowdown.
Yeah, he also had the race leader behind him, so he might have possibly been letting him go by, but it sounds more like a slowdown.
Yeah, let's see the way the difference looks between Thomas and Mirko. Currently, Thomas is leading. Mirko will show as 42.2 seconds back behind Thomas. So that's still that one-stop strategy still might work out for Mirko here, as Dave Douglas and Danny G just holding on to that final car lap down. Jason Martin is also working to keep his car together all in one piece. Edward Foster has pitted, so it'll be interesting to see where Daniel Stevens comes out. If Daniel Stevens can make that position back from Edward Foster here.
He should be able to do it because he's coming onto Road America Straight now. Edward Foster in there taking service. We'll see when he comes out, but Daniel Stevens is now coming up the straight. We can see him in picture as Edward Foster comes out. It's going to be mighty close, but Daniel Stevens should get him. He does.
Yeah, this is going to be that's where that undercut was. We were talking about earlier. That undercut of Tree Race. Just one lap, he went from behind Edward Foster to in front of Edward Foster, and the difference afterwards isn't that much. The only way you're going to really see a difference in speed is if you stay out for much longer. So that's the advantage of being behind somebody when you have a race like this where that undercut is so useful. You can just kind of pop in and make a free pass because now both of y'all are now on the same tires.
Fantastic, and we've got a bit of a mystery going on. You know how we had technical difficulties at the start of tonight's stream? Well, apparently we are running two YouTube streams simultaneously now, so I'm going to just scratch my head. I was wondering where all the commentary from the chat channel's gone. They're actually watching the other stream.
So there is another stream. I guess that's where everybody else is.
Okay, so
and the chat is different. That's funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, Thomas Hinds, he's come in to take his second stop here now, and he's come out right behind Mirko. So that gap that we thought was going to be like 20-30 seconds is actually down to about 4 seconds. So I don't know if Mirko has had an off and he's lost that time, but he should have had a gap of about 30 seconds.
Now I'll run back and see what happened. Oh, Thomas pitted.
Yeah, but when he pitted, his pit time was, I had 15.6 seconds. He should have been like 10 to 20 seconds behind Mirko. Mirko had a gap of 30 seconds, but now he's down to like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Shows how fast Thomas Deans was, I guess. And Mirko is actually pushing it a lot, too. He just ran a 13.8, and he's got 10 laps to hold off the guy who's running in the 11.8s. So,
yeah.
We'll see if see if he can hold him off. I'm not sure, but what you are currently seeing is the battle for the lead. We do believe that Mirko will not be pinning for the rest of the race. So this is currently the battle for the lead as Thomas Heens looks for every spot. He does have much better tires than Mirko. Mirko has 8 laps on his tires, roughly a fall off about a second and a half, and there was that mistake that he needed, and that's going to leave Thomas Heens easy way into turn 1 as they're both even on speed. Mirko's not going to be able to hold it out there, though. He just kind of, he's fighting for it, though.
Yeah, that's sorry, keep on going.
Yeah, you can see the difference in those brand new tires versus the old tires, especially right here. Just the separation he gets on those new tires is unbelievable. Yeah, Mirko's only really being able to keep up with him because of that draft.
Yeah, I had a look back and I can't see Mirko having any off track, so obviously my numbers were completely wrong.
Yeah. But if you do want a battle to watch, Jason Martin and Edward Foster are really going at it. Jason Martin has not pitted since lap 19, and Jason Martin goes up. Oh! Huge crash. That's going to really hurt Jason Martin more than it's going to hurt Edward.
That was like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have a look at this again in super slow-mo. It's like you could see it happening, but you couldn't take your eyes off it.
Yeah. you knew the end result.
Yeah, just having a look at that. And I was going to say Edward didn't even brake, but these cars don't have brake lights.
Yeah. So you were relying on the brake lights. Yeah. You're not going to be able to see that happen. Well, I will say these cars do have brake lights when it rains. When it rains, they have a little rain light they throw on the car.
Okay. So they actually let them run in the rain on road circuits, do they?
Yeah. Last year at Mid-Ohio and the year before at Road America, they ran in the rain. And then also Montreal in 07, it was wet. So they ran a few different wet races. Last year at Mid-Ohio, when it was raining, it was a mess. Because it was a torrential downpour. Very similar to the Adelaide race last year. So we see Kai Sloggett is absolutely pulling on Jason Martin here. It looks like Jason Martin is just going to let him by. He's got some issues with that car.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Jason brings that in and how it's handling. It's I tell you what, these cars are like bulletproof. We've seen some big hits and they've still got 4 wheels pointing forwards.
Oh yeah, you'll see that with these cars. They're built to hit each other.
Meanwhile, out front here, Thomas Heens has a gap 3.4 seconds over Mirko now, and I guess Mirko's still going to probably try to one stop and take the second spot. Darren McKenzie's 55 seconds down from him, so he could almost afford to bring that car in if he needs to, throw some tyres on and some fuel and get out in front of Darren.
Yeah, if he was really close on fuel, that'd be an easy way to get it done with that huge gap. Do have only 10 laps remaining in this race as Thomas Heens will start his 31st lap here. Thomas Heens is leading over Mirko. And Darren McKenzie will be behind him. Josh Micklemore in 4th. Daniel Stevens 5th. Edward Foster 6th. Kai Sloggett 7th. Jason Martin, our points leader, is currently in 8th. He's not having the best of races tonight. Dave Douglas still in that 9th position. He hadn't get the start, went from 6th to 12th, moved his way back up to 9th. Kind of look to make up a few more positions as he's only currently 8 seconds behind Edward Foster. Danny G will round out your top 10 and will round out your lead lap. So it looks like Jason Martin actually did just pass Kai Sloggett there for that 7th position. So.
And the last car on that lead lap is Danny G in 10th position. Then we've got Matthew Raymond, Stephen Williams, Norman Clark, Roger Clark all down 1 lap. James Zeitz, I'm not sure how many laps he is down at the moment, but his car's looking very second-hand at the moment.
Yeah, going back to Dave Douglas, he pitted on lap 22, so 3 laps after Jason Martin. And he is on fire right now. He's ran a couple of 15 flats in a row. He had a 14.7, 14.9, 15.0, 15.0, 15.4. So he has stayed consistent. He is right behind Jason Martin, who just had that issue going into turn 1, trying to keep Edward Foster behind him. He's at a 15.9, 16.0, 17.3, and that last lap was a 9 also. But Dave Douglas is really looking to make up good positions here. Want to end this race off. Ooh! And a better note than what that was about to end up. He did not want to end up like his teammate.
No, we're on the dash cam here, and I actually grabbed the desk when that car started to go for the inside wall.
Oh, yeah. You have one of those VR moments.
Yeah, without the VR.
Right on. So as we were saying earlier, there's not really much difference between these guys. You have Edward Foster and Kai Sloggett both battling it out here for that 6th position. Daniel Stevens is still working that mangled car up into 4th position as he just passed Josh Mickelborn this lap. Edward Foster made a mistake. That's going to allow Kai Sloggett to maybe get that top 5 finish, or that 6th position. They're side by side through the carousel.
What's going to happen when they get to the kink, though? That's a question.
Yeah. You want to stay single file through the kink, that's for sure. But Kai Sloggett is going to try to make the most of it. Ooh, he should have kept in it. Just to keep the floor down. He's looking every way to pass him. But Edward's going to cover the inside here. Tire-wise, they're about the same.
Yeah, I was waiting for Kevin there Kyle there to try to get an undercut through that corner, but he just wasn't confident enough, or he just didn't have the brakes to do it.
As we just see, just quickly in the background, Dave Douglas has made his way around Jason Martin. So Dave Douglas is looking to get that spot, that 6th spot back that he started in. Currently only shown, he's shown just at 7 seconds behind Edward Foster. So he did gain a second on that lap with 9 laps to go. If he can keep that up, it's going to be a hectic race for the 6th position there at the end.
That's cool. I'm still scratching my head about how we're running 2 YouTube channels. But anyway, it just does not make sense to me. But anyway.
Here we have Kai Sloggett still just trying to see if he can't find something. He may have just backed off just a little bit, let his car cool down. Maybe he has a little bit too much tape on that car to really run as close as he wants to. Talked about that tape earlier in the race. Daniel Stevens had a lot, and Thomas Heens had a lot more. So that tape might be playing a little bit of a factor how Kai Sloggett attacked Edward Foster. Edward Foster running almost minimum tape on that front of the car. And Kai Sloggett runs really quick through that kink. So he's trying to make the most of this momentum.
Yeah, he tried to hang two wheels on the inside of that curb there to help him through.
Yeah, and Kai Sloggett, he's looking to set up a pass, maybe on turn 1, maybe on turn 4. See if he gets close enough here. Coming through the final corner. Just not there. Ooh, and he makes just a quick mistake. That's going to keep him from being able to make a pass, keep going into turn 1. Edward Foster does have that front end damage, but it doesn't really affect these cars that much going down the straightaway. So drive playing just a little bit of an issue there for Kai Sloggett. Gets slowed up just enough for turn 1.
I'm starting to yawn. 10:30, it's past my bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the house doesn't let you stay up this late very often, but when there's a race like Kai Sloggett and Edward Foster on, I'm sure they don't care that you're up this late.
Yeah, that's it. Don't know what you said. I'm half deaf in my old age, but I'm sure it's something funny.
Kai Sloggett just made his way around Edward Foster, and that's going to put him back up into 6th position. And Dave Douglas back on him. He is now currently still just under 7 seconds. So he's running about the same speed to these guys. Not what he's looking for if he wants to get back up to 6th position, but Edward Foster is making mistakes, which is going to allow Dave Douglas to join back up with this pack and maybe get that 7th position.
And Kai Sloggett's running about 1.5 seconds faster than Josh Micklemore, and Josh is about 9 seconds up the road in 5th position.
Yeah, and the people this is really going to help out is going to be the drivers who are chasing Jason Martin in the points. I know Josh Micklemore should be close to being up there. Thomas Heens is going to be up there too. But Matthew Cloet's definitely going to drop it. Dave Douglas is trying to make as much points as he can up also. You don't get a race where Jason Martin finishes 9th every week, so you got to capitalize on these ones you can.
Yeah, and the other one that'll be moving up again will be Thomas Hens. He's currently equal 6th on 237 points. I think he jumped about 2 positions, maybe 3, last week. So if he wins tonight, he's going to be a very big beneficiary of maximum points to get him into the top 5.
Yeah, that's going to help him out a lot when you look at the final point standings, because being in that top 5, it not only helps you out, it really gives you a confidence boost that you can really get at some of these guys. The biggest loser tonight will be Stephen Clark. Unfortunately, he didn't make it tonight. Oh, Mr. Sandman, he would have, him and Thomas Heens would have probably put on a wild show, that's for sure, because Sandman is pretty quick and around the left and right turns.
Yeah, that's right. I guess it's Easter here in Australia. I guess you guys get Easter over in America, do you?
Absolutely. Yeah, tomorrow will be Good Friday for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll have Easter on Sunday.
Yeah, same here. So a few of the guys are probably starting to take holidays around this time. Generally, most Canberrans here would be down the coast. Apart from me, I'm sitting up here at my desk calling a race. But anyway.
Absolutely. But yeah, looks like Dave Douglas is kind of stalled out at 7 seconds behind these guys. He's running 15.7. Dave Douglas running 15.9. So don't think he's going to make up as many of his spots as he wants to. But recovering from that first lap, it's going to be a really, really good finish for him in that 8th if he holds it together.
And we'll get an update on the gap as well when Josh Micklemore comes across the line, because last time through, Kai Sloggett pulled 2.2 seconds in on him. You can actually see him. You can see Kai there just coming out of the final corner as Josh goes across the start-finish line. So we'll wait now to see what this gap is and whether Kai Sloggett can pull him in. And looking at the gaps again, he's pulled in another 2.5 seconds over Josh Micklemore, and that gap's down to about 7 seconds. Oh, as Josh has really crossed up there.
Yeah, if Kai Sloggett can stay on this, he'll have about 10 seconds extra. It'll be 12.5 seconds extra at the end of the race. So if he can keep that up, that pace up, he's going to catch and pass Josh Micklemore, as Josh Micklemore took the Joker lap there in the turn 4.
Yeah, well, tell you what, Josh has no tyres left, I'd say, the way that thing's snaking out of turn 3 there. It's almost like he was in a drift session.
Yeah, he's one of the few who did a one-stop race. So he's only taken one stop in this race.
Okay.
That was on lap 19. So he's in the middle of fuel saving and car saving. He's wanting to keep that car there on the ground.
Yeah, it's a good strategy though, isn't it? Because he could still bag quite a few good points by doing it this way.
Yeah, and I think the weirdest of all the stops was Darren McKenzie. He pitted on lap 6, and then proceeded and pitted on lap 22. It's helped him out though. He's in 3rd place, and this is going to be a finish. He's gonna hang his hat on for a little while. Hopefully, he can take it next week to what I believe is Texas.
That's right. Yep, we're off to Texas next week.
Yep. So y'all are going to have fun with that one. I will not be present for that one, but that is a fun little track. Again, to say most weeks turn 2 is the detriment to that track. It actually tightens out coming off turn 2. So be on the lookout for that. Also on the lookout, Kai Sloggett is now 3 seconds behind Josh Micklemore. We have 5 laps to go, and there are 3 seconds separating the 4th and 5th place, or the 5th and 6th place. Kai Sloggett's going to be working towards that top 5, which is one of the stats in NASCAR that people look at the most. Just wins and finishes. As Josh Micklemore, oh man, he's got a lot of rear brake in that car. He locked up the rears, and that's going to give Kai Sloggett a whole lot of time, and he's going to bring Kai Sloggett right on that rear bumper.
Yeah, I think Josh's car's now just crying enough, and he's just got to nurse this thing home. And in the background, though, you can see Edward Foster starting to catch up now as well. And looking at those lap times, Edward pulls 2.3 seconds in on Josh as well.
Yeah, so it could be that Josh Micklemore ends up 7th position, maybe even 8th if he makes a big mistake, and that would be where he started. So he did start in 8th position. I do believe that he thinks that this isn't one of his best tracks, because he just kind of let Kai Sloggett go there. So he's just going to relinquish that 5th place to Kai Sloggett.
Yeah,
he knows that he's having some issues.
Yeah, he's in just point savings mode at the moment, I think. And I'll tell you what, he's come out of it a lot better than Jason Martin has, because Jason started 2nd. He's now sitting down there in 10th position.
Yeah, looks like Danny G may have passed him just a couple of moments ago. And Edward Foster's going to look to do the same. He is now only 2 seconds behind, and Dave Douglas is only 3 seconds behind Edward Foster. So we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a pack here in a minute, with only 4 laps remaining in this race.
Yeah, and we're riding with Edward Foster on the dashboard cam here. See him just cut the inside of the corner there, going through turn 3 up into the back stretch here. And looking at that gap, probably about 3.5 seconds is Dave Douglas behind Edward Foster at the moment. You'll be able to see him, but they're pretty much matching times and last lap through.
Yep. Dave Douglas just in the background. I've got an eye on him. I've got one eye on him. Made just a mistake in turn 4, so really don't want to be making these mistakes. If Dave Douglas is catching up to a slower car, you want to use that slower car as sort of a pick. As Josh Micklemore goes way off track, he'll go through a carousel extremely slow. He's just trying to make the end now.
Yeah, he's probably running on canvas on those tyres about now.
Oh yeah, that car is not loving them. Those tires are not loving them, I should say. The car is still okay. Those tires are just screaming at him to get off the car. I tell you what, this is a long race though. It's been about an hour and a half. Still got 4 laps to go.
Yeah, it's definitely longer in reality than it appeared to be on paper, as Edward Foster now goes on the inside of the final corner, bringing him up to 5th position. And now Josh is bringing that car in. He can't do it.
I don't understand that one. You only have 4 laps. I think he might just be going for fastest lap here. He's gonna relinquish that 8th place, or that 7th or 6th place it would be. Dave Douglas and Danny G and Jason Martin, and he's gonna put himself a lap down to go with Thomas Haynes. So he'll put himself back in the 10th position.
Yeah, it's going to be really costly, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Jason Martin just lets Thomas Haynes by as he will lap him, and that's going to put Jason Martin down. And it's going to put Josh Micklemore down. So there's only going to be 8 cars who finish on the lead lap. And Mirko has an issue. Mirko, who was running in 2nd, car is blown up.
Wow, really? Let's have a look at this. Wow. And we'll have to go back further. How far back did it blow up?
It blew up on his last lap that he was out there and then he stopped. But that was lap 36, so about a lap and a half ago. He's just coming up the hill. As soon as he crossed the line, it blew up.
Sorry, folks, I'm trying to get back to this. Here we go.
All right, hold on, never mind.
It's all right, I've picked it up, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to update people on Josh Micklemore, he actually had to come in to throw some fuel in. He only stopped for 6 seconds, so I'd say that was a fuel issue more than anything. But it's quite costly. It's put him down into 9th, just behind Jason Martin.
Could be that car ran out of oil. I don't have the telemetry on my car or on my screen. Something I cannot see myself. But
yeah, there it goes. So yeah, it let go in the final corner down there, and
He may have just ran out of oil or something with all that damage on the car. He originally hit the back side of Darren McKenzie. Didn't really give it a whole lot of damage, but this battle for second position is about to liven up here in a minute. Speaking of Darren McKenzie, Daniel Stevens is closing up on the backside of Darren McKenzie. Darren McKenzie's last lap was 16.3, currently lapping in the high 16. Daniel Stevens is running in the low 15s. And they're only 2 seconds apart. This battle for second has heated up in a hurry.
Certainly is, and our leader's on his last lap now, and that's Thomas Hinds. Pretty much led 35 of the 39 laps he's run around here at the moment. So I'll tell you what, only the top 7 now are on the lead lap. So that's the sort of pace that's being run out here by our race leader.
So let's see the difference between second and third as they come across the line. Darren McKenzie hits a 15.9, and it's going to be just over 2 seconds back to Daniel Stevens, who had a 16.0. So what I expected is not going to. So long as everybody just kind of stays the course and doesn't make any mistakes, it looks like Thomas Hinds will win this race. Darren McKenzie's going to finish second. Daniel Stevens finish up in that third position. Kai Sloggett fourth. Edward Foster will be fifth. Dave Douglas sixth. Danny G seventh. And the people who have finished is Thomas Hinds. He has finished the race in the first position. Won this race in dominating fashion.
Yeah, the gap at the end, 84.6 seconds back to Darren McKenzie, who's now, where's he? He's just coming up to the carousel.
Yeah, having over a minute gap between first and second just kind of shows just how much pace he had in that car. And that's going to grow here because Thomas Hinds did run a faster lap than Darren McKenzie on the final lap. See that here. Just a minute, Dane.
Yeah, the only other car to lead 4 laps was the 62 of Mirko Dortnack, who's now retired. But I guess he'll get some points for leading a lap around here.
Daniel Stevens has really closed in on the final corner. Oh, he just tried to go in there. Not really passing zone there. He could have set up for this final corner. Try to throw it in there, but just let him go. And Darren McKenzie will finish second. Daniel Stevens will finish third. We'll go back further in the field. Kai Sloggett has one more corner to maneuver around to get in that fourth position. Fifth place will belong to Edward Foster. Dave Douglas will take that sixth position. Danny G, the final car on the lead lap, finished in that seventh position after starting in the 18th position. So good time on him. He wasn't able to put in a qualifying time, but he was able to finish in that seventh position. So good recovery from him.
Yeah, he'd get the biggest mover award tonight for sure, I'd say, as he comes across now in that 24 to claim 7th position. And then the only other 2 running is Jason Martin, who's now out of fuel and comes to a stop, and Norman Clark. So there you go. Let's go through the full results here, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver finished this evening. So, having a look at the results, Thomas Hinds pretty much dominated tonight. He led 36 out of the 40 laps, and Darren McKenzie up 8 positions to come home in second. Daniel Stevens, he finishes in third. What are you doing? Can hear you tapping.
Oh, my bad.
You're playing drums, dude.
No, what?
All right.
Feet on the thing.
Fourth is Kai Sloggett. Fifth, Edward Foster up 2 positions. Dave Douglas takes 6th position. Looking further down in 7th was Danny G. He jumped 12 positions to finish in 7th. Jason Martin is classified 8th. 9th, Josh Mickelmore. 10th was Matthew Raymond. Coming home in 11th is Norman Clark. 12th was Steve Williams. Looking at 13th is Roger Clark, 14th James Zeitz, 15th Mirko Dortnack, 16th Craig Lawless, 17th Bruce Smith, 18th Riley Curtis, Matt Clowett home in 19th, 20th Dwayne Priest, and Sam Deventia classified in 21st position. So we can see our race winner here. Just what's he going to do? He's going to try a donut. Okay. Just gets it around. I was expecting him to hit the wall.
Yeah, he looks very similar to the driver who won this race last year in the Xfinity Series, Jeremy Clements. Fun fact, I went to the same high school as he did.
Ah.
Yep. Old Dorman High School.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a small town here in South Carolina, and he runs his own team by himself and his dad. So they went out and won this race. It was a spectacular race for sure. But he did the same thing where he tried to do a burnout there, and he didn't hit anything, but it looked very similar to that one.
Yeah, it'd be a big feat to run your own team at this sort of level, wouldn't it? Cost a lot of money.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's underfunded for sure, but he's out there having fun. And
awesome.
To get his first win last year, it was great to see.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Now we've got a few people waiting for an interview. We've got Daniel Stevens and Darren McKenzie waiting in the green room. So, who would you like to start with first, Ryan?
It doesn't really matter to me.
All right, we'll go with Daniel Stevens, then Darren McKenzie, and then we'll finish with Thomas Hinds.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not too shit hot on that either.
Hey guys. Over to you,
Daniel
Ryan.
Stevens. You had a pretty decent race. You managed to hit the wall and still finish third. So tell us about it.
Yeah. But I put the old gas down a bit too early and did the old loop-de-loop and spun around.
Yeah, and that damage, did it really hurt the car much at all, or was it kind of just cosmetic?
No, it was just cosmetic. It was only like 19 seconds of optional repairs, so I didn't bother getting it repaired. The car was handling, it was still going in a straight line, and it was sweet. It was all good. It was still going fast, so I just carried on going.
Right on. And you were looking to catch down Darren McKenzie there at the end. Were you trying to push the car as much as you can and give it all it had, or were you just trying to hold it and hope you finish third without wrecking it again?
No, to be quite honest, I was actually, because I wanted to undercut Edward, which actually I did, which was quite lucky. I just wanted to go hard out and catch Darren because he got me on the undercut. So from that last stint onwards, I was just going for it and just pedal to the middle and going for it, and like swinging like an Aussie bowler at the moment. Yeah,
right on. Yeah, it looked like you just ran out of laps. So, do you have anybody to thank?
Yeah, mate, I do. It's Middle Finger Racing. The team I race for, they're an awesome bunch of guys. Wayne Pengilly, he's a top bloke to race for. WP Concrete Team, RacingLeagues.com, AutoKings.com, and West End Mazda.
Right on. So we'll see you next week in the great state of Texas, where everything's bigger, including the crashes. So
yeah,
see you then.
Back to tuning left.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That was Daniel Stevens, third place getter. Our next interview is with Darren McKenzie, who came home in second position.
So, Darren McKenzie, it looks like it was a quite eventful second place for you. You started in 10th place, moved your all the way up to second, and it looked like you were going to finish third there until Marco blew up. So, tell us about how your race went.
Yeah, I knew I didn't have the pace to keep up with the front guys, so I had to use a bit of strategy, and I think I got held up behind 7th spot, and I decided to go for the early pit and reverse the pit strategy.
Yeah, we noticed that you pitted extremely early. You pitted there on lap 6. It was a bit questionable there at the beginning, but fortunately it worked out for you. How was the tires at the backside of that middle stint?
Yeah, both stints, they were gone, and Daniel was catching me really quick at the end. I knew he was going to be about a second a lap quicker, and I was making mistakes galore, so I was just about ready to give up third. I knew he was coming.
Yeah, but you held on to it. Looks like you did stay slightly consistent in your lap times. It may not have looked consistent, but lap times definitely showed there was a little bit of consistency there. So, do you have anybody you want to thank for this finish?
Yeah, teammates at Lone Wolf Motorsports and sponsors of Build Partners and Top Line Paints.
Right on. So, we will see you next week at Texas.
Yes, definitely will if I'm not working.
Right on.
Fantastic. That was Darren McKenzie, our second place getter. Now, our final interview for this evening will be with Thomas Hins.
Hey, Thomas Hines. It looked like a pretty uneventful race for you. It looked like a 40-lap time trial.
Little bit, yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm pretty surprised I was that far ahead. So I know roads my sort of more practice than oval, but I didn't expect to be that far ahead. So yeah, I'm obviously stoked. It was a good fun race regardless. Like running around your own for 40 laps is challenging enough with these cars because of the way they are so slidey. So they keep you on your toes whether you're leading or leading on your own or in intense battle, whatever. They make sure you're still aware. So yeah, it was good fun. The strategy was interesting. It was. I think I was assumed it'd be a one stop, but the fuel numbers weren't quite lining up for me. I could, for me at least, I was thinking I could make it, but I would have had to majorly fuel save. So I thought it was probably quicker to just do a two stop and even out the tyre stints as well, so that they don't die off too much because they lose their edge pretty quick in these cars. So yeah, no, it was good fun. I still enjoyed it. It was good to drive these cars on road because I don't think I've done the Xfinities on road before. So it was good to see what they're like. So I've done I think the K&N ones on Sonoma, but I haven't done any of the others on road. So it was good to see what these things are like and get a taste. So yeah, good fun. So yeah, glad that went how it did. But yeah, tiring one regardless because these cars just give you a workout. Very, very much akin to the V8 like that. They give you a workout whether you're battling or not.
Yeah. So yeah, we noticed that Mirko was trying to do that one stop. And it looked like a couple of people were just trying different things over and over. So you came down to the conclusion it's faster to do two stop.
Yeah. Well, I had the fuel numbers open to all the fuel calculator I have that helps me with the fuel numbers, and yeah, it was looking like it was just over. I mean, for me at least, I would have had to have saved probably nearly 10 litres to make a one stop, and yeah, you just for me, I was thinking I'd just take way too much time saving that fuel, and the tyres would be well past their best anyway, so it's just best to shorten the stints, even them up, and go for two stops. So yeah, I mean, it was at the moment there with Mirko after the second stop, came up behind him and got to have a pass on him, so I guess it was that. But yeah, no, it's as I say, it was it was uneventful, I guess, in battling wise for me, but it was still good fun. I really enjoyed just getting into a rhythm in these longer stints, whether I'm battling people or not. I just really love getting into a real nice rhythm over a race, and the last stint was quite nice. I was quite happy pumping out consistent 12s and 13s all stints, so that was good. So yeah, no, good fun, and good to to get a win in probably the one situation I guess I will in this series, because it's roads. So back to sort of the traditional again next week, and hopefully I hope to keep these results going, because have the consistency back again in this series. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you can keep it going to the end.
Yeah, right on. So, you have anybody to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I guess just ASM in general, as per usual, for being awesome and having me on. Really appreciate the all the support they always give, and just the general awesomeness that is being in that team. So big thanks to ASM for that, and I'm glad I can get a win for them. Obviously, Rat Corp, Cash Centric, big thanks to them as well. And also to Sim Racing Collectibles, our other sponsor we have on the car there. JK's little projects he's got on there. Look, very cool thing. So awesome to have his logo on the car. It looks really good too. It looks really awesome with the red paint scheme. So big thanks to Jay on that one too. But as always, big thanks to you guys for the broadcast, and to the organisers for putting on the usual, top-notch league.
Right on. So we'll see you next week at the at Texas Motor Speedway.
Sounds good. See you then.
So that was our race winner, Thomas Hins, and pretty much led it from flag to flag. We've got one final interview to go, and that's with Edward Foster. He came home in 5th, and we'll bring him down and have a quick chat before we wrap up.
Hey, Mr. Edward Foster.
Oh, hello guys. How you going? I wasn't expected to get called up for an interview. How are you?
We're going great. We had a great race to watch, so we wanted to talk to you a little bit about it.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to do it. How did it look from your end?
It looked like a lot of pit strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure was. I was sort of about 3/4 through the race. I was sort of doubting whether mine was the right call or not, but I was churning through tyres like nobody's business, so I had really no option to do sort of 13, 14 lap stints.
Yeah, I think about 100 people took different pit strategies. I think everybody had a completely different pit strategy from everybody else.
Yeah,
so
we had. Sorry about that. Yeah, we had our team radio going amongst the Riley Curtis Designs guys, and they basically told me that most of the MFR guys are pitting quite early. That made me fairly happy, because I thought that they were potentially going for a 3-stop strategy, because they're all sort of pitting around lap 9 or 10, but I think they ran a longer middle stint and then kind of ran home from there. So yeah, it didn't quite work out that way, but definitely very strategic race for sure.
Yeah, and we also noticed there at the end, you did have you had a little bit of people around you. Were you trying to race and get those extra positions, or were you just trying to survive the tires?
Oh no, mate! I was racing. I was out pushing for all I was worth.
Yeah, I know Kai just got around you with those better tires on you, and I know you're trying to keep away from.
Yeah. It was a bit disappointing, actually, because Dan Stevens was behind me, and he's gone into the pits, and I've pitted the lap after, and he's managed to undercut me. And, I came out of the pits almost dead alongside him, and he's managed to hold the position. And then, of course, he's caught Jason Martin, and then after he passed Martin spun in front of me and sort of delayed me a little bit, and that's kind of damaged the front end of the car. It wasn't really quite right after that, and that's also, brought Kai, who was about 10 or 11 seconds back at that point, right back into play. So, I think without that, perhaps I could have finished one position higher, but top 5, I'll take that any day.
Right on. Well, do you have anybody you want to thank before you head off here?
Yeah, absolutely. Just obviously our great sponsor at Riley Curtis Designs Motorsport, APCS. They also sponsor ANZCAR, of course. So absolutely fantastic to have them on the car and give them a little bit of publicity, because they absolutely deserve it, the way they support us. And ANZCAR, obviously RRTV for showing us to the wider world. And also Riley Curtis, Dave Douglas and Tim Dawes, my teammates, are great guys to work with. And obviously their help sort of during the race. Tim wasn't wasn't there tonight, but their help during the race helped get me to where I'll finish tonight. So, yeah, big thanks to all of them.
Right on. Well, we'll see you next week in Texas.
Absolutely. See you there.
Fantastic. Well, that's our final interview. Thanks, Ryan, for doing all that. I was sitting here trying to stay awake, but you must be really tired over there. What time is it over there at the moment for you?
It's currently 8 o'clock in the morning. I've got to go to sleep in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, so night owl. But,
Right.
Interesting racing tonight. As you were saying in the interviews, a lot of strategy was played out and quite a few guys struggling out there.
Oh yeah, it's hard to go out there on brand new tires with the most amount of grip you can. So being out there for 15, 20 laps on a single set is always just they're braver men than I'll ever be.
Yeah, me too. And of course, next week's folks, we're back at Texas Motor Speedway, so we'll be back to the oval track racing next week. As far as broadcast this week on RRTV, don't go anywhere tomorrow. Well, you can go on holidays, but tomorrow night at 8:15 p.m. we have the Porsche Carrera Cup coming your way. It's going to be a 1-hour endurance race around Twin Ring Motegi. Then coming Saturday night is we have the GT3s. First up, the racingleagues.com GT3 series coming your way, and then that will be followed by the Sim Racers Asia GT3 series at around about 11 p.m. Saturday night. And of course then Alex McKellar and his team will be back Monday night at 9:15 p.m. to call all the action of the Skip Barber Monday Night Lights. So still a lot of viewing over the weekend for all you folks who can't get enough of your racing. But wherever you are in the world, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage tonight. I'd like to thank Ryan Shelton for joining us in the combox and calling the action. So Ryan, thanks very much. You can go to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just taking a little bit of water there.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, yeah. I'll definitely go to sleep because I've got one more night of work and I've got the weekend off. So
fantastic. And for everyone out there watching, if you're in Australia, have a nice sleep. It's 11:07 p.m. here, well past my bedtime. But wherever you are in the world, folks, if you can't join us over the weekend, have a great Easter and a great time with your families having the long weekend off. But until next time, folks, on behalf of Ryan Shelton, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Good night.